Welcome everybody to the Truth Tonight Talk Radio. I'm Roxy Lopez. I know a lot of you are really into the conversation we're going to have tonight. It's going to get deep. So I know a lot of you need to hear that. Let me bring up a couple of things before we dive in with my guest, who is James Gilliland, tonight. And I know so many of you just really enjoy when James joins us on the show and for the conversation. A lot of us get a lot out of it. You know, if anybody knows about this, I've got a couple of brief news stories, and then we're going to jump right into it. Does anyone know about these 12 Canadian F-18 fighter jets that, if you're in the Denver metro area near Centennial Airport, there's a good chance that you might have heard these jets today. And if you did, I'd like to know about it if you're in Denver, there, by that airport. The city of Aurora posted on its Facebook page today that the Canadian F-18 fighter jets arrived on Thursday, and then I guess they took off around noon today. But I'd like to find out more. I can't seem to find any information on this. I just think it's interesting being that, well, Canadian F-18 fighter jets, unless they just needed to make a landing and refuel and hang out for the night or something, I just think it's interesting. Back on the wheel of ugh with this government. Hey, it's waking people up. Let me tell you something. Let me catch you up. As you well know, President Barack Obama and congressional Republican leaders inched toward resolving their fiscal impasse on Friday, today, but struggled to agree on the length and terms of a short-term deal to increase the U.S. debt limit and reopen the government. So, we've seen this show before. Obama met with the Senate, finally, the Senate Republicans at the White House, and spoke by phone to the House of Representatives Speaker John Boehner as negotiations intensified on how to get hundreds of thousands of federal workers back on the job and extend the government's borrowing authority past the October 17 limit. And you all know on October 17th, if they do not have a deal made by then, it allegedly means that the United States government will default on its loans. That's a story for another day, because I'll tell you something. That's not true. All they have to do is pay the interest. They've got the money to pay the interest. But that's a story for another day. I won't get into that. But people are waking up. I have a friend who was a proud leftist Democrat. And what's really cool is we had a conversation early this morning, and she gets it now that the left and the right, meaning Republicans and Democrats, are one party. It's a one-party system. It's a one-party show. And I nearly fell off my chair because she gets it. And unfortunately, she voted for Barack Obama. She believed in Barack Obama, but she says it's taught her a lesson that throughout her life, she really believed these campaigners when they were out on the campaign road. And now she realizes that somebody like Obama, who could look at the people with such heartfelt, almost genuine love for our United States of America and our citizens, how someone could repeatedly look into a camera with those eyes and be lying. And this, it's a sad day when someone realizes this. But I'm grateful because my friend is in her 60s. She's a smart woman, an educated woman, a spiritual woman, very, very well-read woman. And so I have to say, a year ago, this conversation would have gotten she and I in a full-fledged argument. And today, the conversation was a relief to her that there was someone else who got it, like me. So think about that when you're wondering about some of your family members or friends who just still believe in a republic. Just remember that through times like this, as weird as they are, as mad as you are at the government for being stupid with money and the corporation, the United States corporation, just remember it's times like these that nudge the American people and say something's really wrong. And this is where people do begin to unravel, jump in or shift into a new paradigm of thinking and undo the propaganda in their own mind. So, there's good things that come out of bad things is what I'm trying to say. Today we're going to cover quite a few things with my friend James Gilliland. We're going to talk about the ambassador training that he's doing out at ECETI Ranch. And let me check, because a couple of people said to say hi to you. Let's see. Oh, I can't remember who it is. John Sullivan was one of them who's been out to the ranch and such.
Oh,
yeah. And James, come on, join, come in the kitchen, grab a cup of coffee.
Okay, yeah, it's great to be back.
Thanks. It's always wonderful to have you. You're one of those people that so many people know who you are. So no disrespect intended to not give a few paragraphs on who you are. People are tuning in right now to hear you, and they're well aware of you. And I will say that if there's anybody new listening, two things you may want to do. If you're new to the program, and you'd like to join a chat room so that you can ask James some questions later on in the show, go to freedomslips.com. And when you click there, hit Studio A. That's where I am. I'm in Studio A. We have the better coffee of Studio A and Studio B. And you want to hit the chat room. You'll see a icon that says chat. Click that, log in, and then you can sort of hang out in the chat room. And you can drink coffee there too. All right. And hello, chat room. Good evening. James, let's just jump right into just what you and I just started to talk about actually before you even came on the air. You were talking about an energy shift, and I'd love to go right there because many people are talking about this, emailing us, posting on our walls, posting on conversations over and over and over again, that they are even saying to us, to the Truth Denied and our staff, that it is, some people are really having a tough time. Mm-hmm. What is with these energies? And tell us about the energies that went down this week, if the best you can.
Well, it seems like these energies are exponential, and they keep coming through, and they get stronger and stronger. And whatever unfinished business that you have, any old wounds or traumas or unhealed issues or whatever, they're all coming to the surface, and we just can't suppress it anymore. And the things that we need to heal to get back to peace are just coming up and slapping us in the face. And I know there's a lot of people that are very agitated, that where things didn't bother you before are just like screaming elephants, in the room, and because everything's being energized, and so it's a lot of just the whole planet is under process, and it has a lot to do with unity consciousness, and everything in disunity or anything playing the separation game, or the lower frequency attitudes and emotions like anger and jealousy and competition and just, sadness, sorrow, all those things are coming up to the surface to be healed. And it's just a process that's underway. It's coming in waves, and it seems like each time it gets a little stronger, and then we have a downtime to heal and look at what's going on, and then the next wave will come in, and we just had a wave come through last week, and now we're having a little bit of downtime, but it's picking up again. There's another wave starting to, coming in. But it's just a process. It's tied into cycles, natural cycles that happen. It's tied into the alignment with Alcyon and Sirius, as well as galactic plane. It's also tied into the work being done by the ultradimensionals that are assisting us in this process, and the inner earth as well. So it's like the earth itself and the beings that live within the interior in their places are all working in conjunction. And and we're almost like being sandwiched, above and below, that we need to process these things out. And what's happened over years, over thousands of years, we've been under the influence of these archons, the archon network. And that is the reason why we have all the poverty and the wars and the lack and the competition and all these things that are there. It's a combination of things. One, due to the ancient Anunnaki, after they left, the fallen ones that they left behind, they had a lot of competitive programs going, and they had a lot of turf wars, and it was like the original Hatfields and McCoys going on. And so they had their turf wars, and they had their areas that were given to them by the Supreme Council. And when they left and there's nobody to keep the peace, they fell and got into their own issues, and so there was, some pretty nasty wars fought in the past, between Enlil and Enki and Marduk and some of the other ones that we've all heard about through Sitchin. But it's also, there was another group that was invited in during the middle of this nonsense, and those are some of the reptilian and the tall grays, and they jumped in and aligned with one of the factions, one of the guys just wanted pure control and power over everybody. And so they were invited in. There's an old saying, evil is almost always invited, for some reason. So that was invited in, and we're still dealing with that to this day. And the good news is all of that is on its way out. This old network, this old Archon network, this bankster program that we're under, this enslaved through dependency program, and are keeping people dumbed down and out of touch, with their own soul and spirit. All these programs have been going on for so long are just becoming unraveled. And it's happening on a soul level. People's souls are being activated. You can't stop this process because the very atom itself is going through changes, and it's just well underway, and we're all undergoing a part of this. And it's so important right now to go within and learn ways to process this energy and find process-oriented therapies and not blame others or project these energies, but go within. And the main thing is really important right now is to not participate anymore in this network. Let it die, because it is folding in on itself.
Understood. When you say go within, as my own experience and a few others that I know, for myself, and I think this is very normal, so I am definitely wanting to share it. I was finding that a problem I was trying to solve that I really had no jurisdiction over. In other words, it was a problem that I was powerless over, and I just had to live with that and be okay with that. And it was staring me in the face day in and day out. And I wanted to crawl out of my body rather than go inside and really take a look at it. I wanted to run. I wanted to crawl out of my skin. And I know that a lot of people can relate to that when things get really scary or hairy. We want to run, which is why a lot of people do a lot of prescription drugs or drinking or drugging or whatever. It's an anesthetizer, a way to sort of fade out. I was speaking to a woman, James, who was telling me that she's a gambler and an addict gambler. And I asked her why she does that. And she said because it's her escape. It's the way that she can just get away from everything that's going on in the world, which we all know when you run to an addiction, it just really in the end makes it worse. But what would you suggest just on this level of people wanting to crawl out of their skin? It's a pretty normal thing. Oh, yeah. What to want to do when you're like scared? What would you suggest? Just one of the keys for that person to do. Describe a little bit more about what you mean by going inside.
Well, those issues are coming to you because of that fear. Because of that, there must be an old wound or another program running that has gone through the same thing in the past. And so it's being recreated and energized again and again. And so eventually we have to face these fears. And what's funny, as soon as they do, they just lose their power. They just kind of unravel. Or you can master loving detachment and just release all attachment to the situation, and it folds in on itself. There's different ways of doing that and different needs for the individuals. But what I find is there's something that it's kind of a little secret that everybody's been trying to keep from us for years. And, this sounds like kind of woo-woo, but basically, within everybody is a loving, joyous, powerful, manifesting God or goddess. It's the spark waiting to ignite into the full flame. And we can go within and ignite that spark. And there's a whole host of beings waiting to help. So you've got your angelic beings, your ascended masters, you've got the ultra dimensionals, the 5th, 6th, and 7th dimensional beings, 8th dimensional beings, which are coming in right now, that are all coming in to assist in this process. And if you just sit down and ask, spend some time and ask for this to be, released, ask that it be cleared. And there's techniques that I've written about in the books, Reunion with Source and Becoming Gods, that teach you exactly how to do this. And what's funny is these books, we're reading Becoming Gods too. And that's like another life for me a long time ago, that I wrote these things in 82, but everything in them are happening now. And it's so amazing because in there, we were talking about how all of the agencies, most of the government agencies are going to be exactly opposite of what they were created to do. And if you look at it, the Defense Department is really the offense department. They're working,
right.
Yeah, they're the corporate thugs. They're working for the corporations, to make sure the resources and the petrodollars keep going. You look at the World Health Organization, and with all the vaccines and what they've done, what does it have to do with World Health? They should just call them the World Death Organization, with the things that they're doing. I can go on and on. The Justice Department. Where's the justice
Right.
in what's been going on right now? It should just call it the Injustice Department, and whoever owns the gold makes the rules, basically, and that's what's going on right now. But I can just go on and on, with the whole systems. And if you look at them, they've done a flip. A lot of the police departments, they're there to protect and serve and make sure your rights are taken care of, honored, and although there are some out there that are still doing that, that are still trying to walk that talk, they're being pressured very hard to turn into this Gestapo, heavily armed, heavily armored, you might say, force, like hit squads, basically. So, and doing the exact opposite, of enforcing the Constitution and protecting the people and our rights. But, again, I'm just saying I can go on. The FDA is supposed to make sure we have safe drugs. Look at all the drugs
I know, right?
that are coming out, and look at all the healing modalities they've suppressed. So everything right now, that's, like your friend is starting to wake up. It's like when you do wake up, it's just like, oh, my God, like this is such a mess, and it's so backwards. And it's such a disservice to humanity, the earth, and it's so out of alignment with universal law and unity consciousness and these new energies. There's no way it can survive. It's a parasitic monster, oppressive monster that cannot continue. It's no longer frequency specific to where the earth is going and to where the people are choosing on a soul level to go. So it's on its way out, and it's completely unsustainable. So I don't see any reason, it's a mathematical certainty that our economy is just going to go belly up, because, we have more like a $200 trillion debt when you really get the numbers out there, and it's impossible. Our entire gross national product could not pay that debt, in what, probably 20 years, if we didn't have any more debt, so, I'm sure there's numbers even more than that, but it's just impossible. And our whole problem goes back to, the debt slavery and the interest and all the nonsense that the banksters have pulled on us, since, I guess, basically, I think it's Truman, I can't remember who, way back in the past, they pulled that. I don't know when the Jekyll Island thing went on, but we eventually there's no way the Federal Reserve can keep going, because there's nobody to feed it. There's nothing to feed it. It has to collapse, and we have to go back
Do you think
to
they
our,
know that, James?
well, I think they're fully aware of it. And that's why that's why they're just grabbing all the money they can and pulling out and to let everybody fall on their face, because they're just grabbing everything they can, because they know their time is up. Too many people are waking up. Too many countries are fed up. There's too many countries that are saying we're not loaning any more money. We're done with this program. You're corrupt. You've got to get your economy together and knock off this nonsense. So it's just like there's no support for them anymore. They just don't have access to the funds anymore that they used to. And they created the debt, not us. It's not our debt. Let DC pay it back.
Well, that's interesting that you're talking about that they don't have anyone to pay it. Or I think it's bigger too, and I think that's what you're describing. Wouldn't you think that it's really a depiction as well of the lack of confidence that they all have with each other as well?
Well, I think what Congress has a 5% approval rate right now, and I don't know what Obama's rate is, but I'm sure it's abominable.
I think they're all afraid of each other.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they've been extorting and from each other and, holding files on each other for God knows how long. And they're all in it. They're all dirty. And so they're so afraid of each other exposing each other. And so they're, and their biggest enemy is the people finding out who they are and what they've done, So, people go, why are they afraid of us? I thought they're there to serve us. No, they're there to serve themselves. And if you find out what they've done, you're going to have a real mess on your hands, which is what's happening right now. That's why you've got that million trucker thing going on, to DC. And now you've got the vets, who've been totally screwed over and lied to, by the system and left to die. They're marching now. And I think a lot of other big groups are marching on DC. And
we need to keep marching.
Yeah. Kudos to.
And again, thanks for joining us this evening. If you're just tuning in, our guest this evening is James Gilliland. He is the best-selling author with books such as Reunion with Source, Becoming Gods, and The Ultimate Soul Journey. James has appeared in Contact Has Begun, His Story, The History Channel, UFOs Then and Now, UFO Hotspots, ABC, Fox News, of course, some of your favorites, Coast to Coast, and the list goes on and on. James, you've led quite the life, as far as your understanding and your depth with a real big picture of the true matrix that we all live in. For instance, the denial of beyond just UFOs or ET craft, or our brothers and sisters that live throughout the universe, or history on our own planet. Do you have any clue as to why this is all suppressed? What is the danger of releasing the truth of our history, our present, and holding back at this time our future?
Well, basically, if you know where you've been, then you know where you're going, because your past is creating your tomorrow. And so we really need to keep the people dumbed down and stupid, so they keep recreating the same problems over and over again, with no solutions. And that is the the height of ignorance, is to try to do the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And that's where they want to keep people. So when you know your past and you really delve into our real history and what's happened on this planet on the big scale and even on the mini scale, what's happening to the countries and what's behind it all and everything else. And you see people are just acting out what happened in the past, the inconsistencies of the gods, or the indiscretions of the gods. Then you go, wow, now I see the big picture. I see what's really going on here. And you can't get people to participate without keeping them stupid, and dumb down and keep this information away. And so, to keep people enslaved through dependency, you don't want to let them know there's alternatives. You don't want to let them know that we don't even need the oil that we're going to war for and keeping the petrodollars going and all these other things, that we don't even need that oil. we've had technologies since 1930 that would have done away with that. Especially the Germans have had it. So we've had, fuelless energy technologies, anti-gravity, counter-gravity, all these things back in the 30s. And it's been there and it's been suppressed. So, I can go on and on, the knowledge, about the real ancient history of the earth and where all the religions started, who started the religions. It all goes back to the different groups, of the fallen ones, the Annunaki that were left behind. And some were benevolent and some were positive and some were malevolent. Some demanded worship and demanded people to bow down. So it's been an ongoing mess for some time. And once we realized how this program got started and the mess that we're in right now, we can step out of it and say, wow, okay, now I understand how this all came about and how this whole network came together. And now I'm going to step out of this and start creating a new network, a new program, you might say, where the competition ends, and the love and the joy and the bliss and the service starts, and where we all start working together and end all this competition, greed, class separation game. And that's what people are doing all over the world right now. And especially other countries are just looking at America and going, oh my God, when are these people going to get it? Because their news is covering all the nonsense going on, but
yeah, it seems like they're a little ahead of us, aren't they?
They're way ahead of us, and what's funny, even England, just totally pulled the plug on going to war, and just
who would have thunk?
Yeah. They're going, no, we're not doing it. I'm sorry. You're not going to pull us into this other ridiculous war. And people are going, wait a second. Now we're giving all this money to these Al-Qaeda rebels. Wasn't it Al-Qaeda that supposedly took down the Twin Towers and that in Iraq that we're fighting these people, but we're giving them money now and they're the good guys, but we were fighting them before as the bad guys. So really what's going on? And then all of a sudden you realize, well, the banksters have financed, every side of every war since Napoleon. To keep people divided and keep the unrest going and keep a threat going. So people are starting to figure it out and going, wow, wait a second. None of this is adding up. And how many times can we kill bin Laden?
Oh God.
Use him as a poster boy, and I'm surprised they haven't popped up Saddam Hussein somewhere and said, oops, we got the wrong guy. That was his double. And now he's in charge again. And create a new fictitious threat there or something. It's getting so ridiculous and so transparent. People are seeing it. And one thing our government has given us is transparency, because it's so ridiculous. It's so transparent now. If anybody's not seeing what's going on and how ridiculous this whole scenario is, then I hate to say it, but, you probably need to be fertilizer for the next generation. If you're going to
what you're talking about, James, absolutely. You don't have to be a big political person or understand politics is what I'm trying to say. You don't have to have read or been very good in government class in high school or college or whatever. You're right. There's some real obvious stuff going on that it's not rocket science is what you're saying.
Yeah.
And, even with Putin, saying, to Obama, just stay away from Syria. I'll handle this.
Yeah.
It is kind of a bizarre thing. China yesterday, saying to the United States, you better not default on your debt to us, and it is kind of a strange time. If you're a U.S. citizen, which you and I are, it is kind of a strange time to be an American right now, because it does look like the world is not happy with us. I mean, it's very obvious. And I don't remember a time where the world was like everyone's looking at us going, what are you people doing?
Yeah. Well,
right?
The thing about I've actually removed myself from being a citizen as well.
I was going to ask you that. Did you?
Yeah. So it's, it's like you almost have
you just live here.
Yeah. I'm just hanging out here. I live within the confines of my body. That's my residence. But that's a long drawn out process that would take a whole show in itself. But basically, we have to really look at the definitions of these words and what they really mean, and get back to the republic, the old program that we had, and even democracy is a mess. It's like, we're doing all these wars for democracy. Come on, it's like yeah, Operation Freedom. We're gonna level your whole city, kill all your men, women, and children, but you're free. You don't have a house, you don't have a toilet, you don't have a place to cook your meals, you've got no food, but we liberated you. It's like, when are people going to look at this and go, I mean, look at the atrocity that happened in Libya. Like everybody had, everybody there was living fat, man. They had all kinds of money coming to them. They got married, they got a big bonus. They had a kid, they got a big bonus. If they wanted to go to school, they had a big bonus. If they got sick, it was taken care of. I mean, everything. They're putting in massive infrastructures and waterways, fresh water and everything. I'm not saying Gaddafi's a saint, but what he was doing was for his people was far above anything that was happening, in the United States. And basically, he was trying to get everybody back on the gold standard and get away from the petrodollars, which is why he got taken out, basically, because he was doing too much good and making everybody else look bad. But there's just a lot of things like that people need to get educated about and see what's really going on out there and why we're doing things, and figure out the real motives behind all of these wars and all this other nonsense going on. And then when you do, just choose not to participate anymore and stop. They need people broke and dumbed down and stupid, because how are they going to do their wars? Where are they going to get the cannon fodder from if everybody's educated and awake and living in peace and harmony? They need the ghettos. They need the violence. They need all of that stuff so they can continue in their program. But that's all coming to an end right now, and people are waking up.
Now let's talk about the Archon for a moment. A lot of definitions for the Archon race, and a lot of different ways in which this race exists on our planet. Can you give us a little bit of insight as to how long they're going to continue to be in our energy waves, like our electricity, our technology, our computers? They're sort of vampires, aren't they? They just attach and suck it all up, including human energy and human source. And so what's going on with them? Because you've been so great at giving us the reports, with where they're at, like even this year, because the Archons kind of ramped it up.
Yeah, they definitely did. Basically the Archons have been talked about back in the Nag Hammadi, and even before that, they're known about them. And, they're a group of basically parasitic predators. They're a group of beings that actually live off of the negativity, and attach themselves to, we have the genes of the gods, basically. We have the Anunnaki genes. A lot of it's not active. It's waiting there to be activated, and they know how to activate it. So that's why a lot of them, some of the Greys and things are actually abducting people and things, trying to get those genes. They want that genetic soup, so they can increase their power base, and to make it, into the next wave. But the problem is that we're moving into unity consciousness, and the polarities are coming to an end, especially the negative polarities. And the ones I want to talk about negative, there's a negative and positive energy, and both are necessary, but this is different. These are beings that feed off the anger, the pain, the suffering, the violence. They want to keep everybody divided. They hate the higher consciousness and energy. They can't stand to be in a loving, space. And we have the ability to channel the love of the source right through our hearts into every situation, which just turns them upside down. How do they deal with that kind of power? As long as you don't get into fear, and you focus that love and joy and bliss into these situations, that it just turns them upside down. They either fry or go, basically. But it's we're in that process right now where that network is just being hammered on by the ultra dimensionals, the angelic ascended master realms, all of these higher dimensional realms, whatever your belief system, are pressing in on the earth right now, as well as galactic plane and whole systems, the Pleiades system, the Orion Council of Light, the Andromedans, Syrians, all of these beings are pressing hard on the earth right now. It's from eighth dimension down, helping the earth go through her process. And the earth has a spirit herself as well, and she's chosen to ascend and go to the next level. So she's going to be rocking and rolling and shaking and doing a lot of crazy stuff with the weather. And the sun is also assisting in that process. It's all connected. And that's what a lot of people have a hard time understanding. There's nothing that's not connected, and there's nothing that's not conscious. So the lower consciousness, you might say, the lower frequency or vibrational energies are just in the cooker right now. And their network is imploding and falling apart because the grid that they operate on is being torn apart by these higher consciousness beings and energy and their technologies. They have spiritual technologies as well. So we're in the middle of that process of where, it's almost like, when you put that little device in your house and you plug it in and it makes this high-pitched squeal and all the rats run and bugs, it's almost the same process that's going on. And we have to let go of our attachments, and connections to this and our past as well when these energies come in, because, once it's almost like if you have a lot of anger and a lot of wounds and a lot of fear and guilt and unworthiness, and you're carrying all this energy and a higher frequency comes in, you're going to get really agitated because that's all going to be agitated. But as soon as you release that and heal that, you're back at peace again. And those frequencies aren't going to bother you at all. Actually, you're going to resonate with them. You're going, oh, this feels great, when it comes in. So what's happening on a huge scale is that all of these higher dimensions are pressing in and using their technologies and consciousness to assist the earth. God knows how many people have incarnated on the earth from these advanced civilizations that are being activated and waking up, all these, especially these indigo and golden crystal children, whatever name you want to give them. And it's like the source itself is coming through the dimensions and activating the souls on every level. And it's just a massive process. And that's why I'm saying, I'm not here to war against anybody, not even the Illuminati or anybody else, but they know that they've got to get their act together, and they know they need to make restitution and get on the right side of the fence. And they know that their program, it cannot continue, and their kingdoms are going to crumble. And, and just because they're built on a false foundation and they're not frequency specific to where the earth is going, including their own physical bodies. So,
right.
So they know they need to up the game and release the past and get back into service, assisting, and then they'll get some grace and they'll get a lot of help. But there are some that are not going to do it. I mean, they're going to hold on to the very end and do as much damage as possible. And that group is really going to get the big implosion, the instant karma, the reaction to their actions. And I actually feel sorry for them for what they're creating, because it's a no-win situation. There's no way they can win. And what they're drawing down on themselves is they're going to have to feel and experience all the pain and suffering they've done to others. It's going to be imploded and brought back through them. So it's not going to be a fun ticket, for those guys that don't want to stop the nonsense.
Boy, isn't that the truth? A real easy examination of karma. I considered myself to be, in my lifetime, I made mistakes. I hurt people. I lied. I did a lot of things growing up. But you're right. I experienced it. I got the flip side. If I was not faithful to somebody in high school, my next relationship, they weren't faithful to me, and it broke my heart. And you start putting two and two together at a real young age that, wow, this is what it felt like for that person. This is what I did to them. Or like parents will do that. They'll say to children, oh, just wait till you have children of your own, then you'll know how it feels. And then you oh yeah, blow it off, to mom and dad. And then when you get older and you have your children, and then your child breaks your heart, you go to your mom and dad and say, now I know what I did to you. I'm so sorry. So you're right. There's so many amazing ways in which we experience what you said, which is we're all connected and it's all one, and it's we can't escape it.
Yeah, I love, there's an old saying, I've never made a mistake. I've manifested a lot of things and gained a lot of wisdom, in a lot of cases, we're learning. It's a learning experience down here, and we're trying different things, and some things work and some things don't. And whenever you have another being with free will and you're involved with that being, anything can happen. And so, all you can do is the best you can and learn to forgive yourself and dust yourself off and try again. And that's what the Pleiadians keep saying, they're here to help us release the past, so we can go forward. And they're clearing out the energies, even the psychometrized energies in the earth, where there's been ancient wars and all this old grudges and bickerings going on between civilizations, and nations. They're helping to clean that energy up to give us a little help on that arena, and in our own bodies, not just the earth body. They're helping us within our own bodies as well. And those who choose are really going to, take off with this and be given some incredible, divine intervention and grace, but the ones that are refusing to heal and not go forward, it's not optional anymore. It's not, the earth has chosen to go, and she's going to the next level. The vast majority of the people on the earth want to go to the next level. They're done with the nonsense. They're just done with the, and the enslavement and the lack of love and joy and abundance in their life. All of these things, just everybody has just had it up to the neck with this stuff. And so it's all coming to a head. What's nice is on the other side of this, once this implodes, and this is a Native American prophecy that the beast, actually consumes itself, which is what it's in the middle of doing right now. Once that implodes and consumes itself, on the other side of that, we have the higher dimensional being stepping in and helping us, restore the earth and, get the free energy and all the other technologies together, the healing technologies, and things are going to be restored very quickly. But we just have to go through this process of releasing the past, letting this old grid crash, and then get busy creating a different world, a different.
How long is it going to take, do you think? How much? I'm so human. How much longer is it going to, in your opinion, is there any way of knowing?
I don't know why, but I keep seeing 2016, like there's going to be so many events happen between now and 2016. And, I heard somebody giving stock predictions up to like 2025 or something. I go, do you really think we're going to have a stock market? Then I said, what are you doing? Like talking about all these places where things are going to go. And I go, man plans and God laughs, and I think nature has something else in store, and she has the last word. There's civilizations, extremely advanced civilizations and other civilizations that live close to nature that don't even have a monetary system, and they do great. There's no problem. They don't need it because they have unity consciousness going for them, and they all work together, and they thrive. They're abundant. So
let's talk about that. Let's talk about how that works, unity consciousness. And to preface, very interesting, because the last time you were on the show, I was, talking to some people on a thread of one of the shows that you and I had done together. And I brought up unity consciousness, and quite a few people came in and started to talk about how unity consciousness or unification or unifying people not only is impossible, not only is it a Nazi, it comes out in a Nazi, camp, started, giving me links to stories that talked about this in the 40s and the 30s. And I just thought, why are they doing this? And I find that I am challenged more than I'm not when I start talking about unity consciousness and unification, unifying. There are so many people, way more people who do not think you can do it, don't want to do it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So let's talk about unity consciousness. What is it? Is it already happening? You know what I mean? Are we already in it? You know, and what do we do when somebody tries to negate it with us?
You know, a good friend of mine, Michael Tellinger, is doing this Ubuntu program, and they're doing away with money altogether, and they're having some great success at it. You know, where everybody's just working together and building each other's homes and growing food and doing a lot of things, and it is working. But getting back to this other thing is basically what people are telling you when they said it can't happen. They're saying, I don't want to change. You know, I want my program to go business as usual. I don't want to change. It doesn't matter if other people are being blown up and whole families are being exploded and droned and everything else. My lifestyle, I don't want any interruptions in my lifestyle, no matter what. And basically that's what they're saying. I don't want to change, and I don't want to look at this. I don't want to, participate in anything that's going to interrupt my lifestyle. And people fear the unknown and change more than anything else because they don't really know that there's another way, that there's actually a whole nother way of living. Like with us right now, you know, that everybody goes, well, how are you dealing with the government shutdown? I go, what government? You know?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just like, oh yeah, something happened, you know? It's like, we don't have
it's a non-event for you.
Yeah, we don't have a TV. You know, hey, I can run around up the forest. I can go all over the forest right now. Nobody's going to bother me, you know? And basically, so, you know, it's kind of like that situation that for us, it's like a no-brainer, but there is a whole nother way of living, where you don't have to live underneath all this parasitic, you know, predator program. And there's a lot of people trying that, and the government's doing all they can to suppress that, and the media and everything else. They're doing everything they can to suppress that. There just may be another way. And, you know, these advanced civilizations out there, you know, they have their ships, you know, the universe is their playground. They have their homes on their home planet. Their environment is in order. They live an abundant, free life, unlimited life, incredible life. They don't have a monetary system. How does that work? And I'll tell you how it works for them. We'll take the Pleiades for an example, is that they take their kids, you know, between the age 5 and 8, they take them up on the beam ships, they power it up, and they all become a light principle. And when they do that, they realize that they're totally one. They're one with all life, one in consciousness. They're one with the one consciousness that encompasses all consciousness on all planes and dimensions throughout the multiverse. And then they bring them back, and they know in their soul what they're here to do, and they give them everything they need to advance in that way, and then they give back to the whole.
Just tuned in. You are in for a treat. James Gilliland is with us this evening. We're having a deep conversation, and we're going to go even deeper during the break. We kind of threw a couple of ideas around, and so we're going to go there. Listen, back on the love and detachment, because we discussed a little bit of that, this love and detachment, anything to do with fear, really, or people, or things that are coming up in our lives that are, making us sad or mad or angry, or things, as James had said earlier in the show, things that we need to heal within us, as we forge ahead here on this planet, so to speak. I wanted to bring up very quickly for you, James, empaths and psychics and healers even, who are emerging from this, like almost a dark place. Like they've absorbed a lot of the pain from their clients, They can feel like the sadness. I know a lot of people write into us as well that they feel so sad for the world because so many animals are dying, the abuse going on in the planet, the children really that are dying or being murdered. We just had one today in Arizona, a 2-year-old, and the father shook the child to death, literally. So the empath especially, and you don't have to be an empath to have these feelings, but this weight of the world, James, literally, that we feel in our hearts sometimes, that heaviness of the such bad, dense energy on the planet. Where do we go with that? What would help us?
Yeah, there are some tools to help us get through these times, and I totally have. I'm pretty empathetic myself, and I know other people are as well. And we just look at each other and they go, "Are you feeling that?" And they go, "Yeah." And I go, "What is it?" You know, and I go, "This one isn't mine. This is a world lifting or a process going on." And we'll feel the different energies, and just knowing that it's not yours it lifts. And just saying that, hey, this is not mine, actually closes that door. And learning the difference between being subjective and objective. When you're subjective to everything and you're a sensitive and you're an empath, I mean, all these energies are just going to run over you. So you have to learn how to be objective and objectively send healing energies to these things, or learn to, shield up and just say, not mine, and just see your whole aura just illuminating with gold or blue energy or whatever, and do your daily practices, where you're fortifying your aura, with these healing energies. There's a lot of processes we teach here to do that, some very powerful, really simple exercise is just to go into meditation and call in all the cosmic energies to come down into your heart, and just call in all the love and joy and bliss into your heart, and then call them from the earth, to come up from your feet, and come back up into your heart, and then send that out to the world and just send it out. And then you're getting the backup. There's a lot more details to some of these things, that processes you can do. Learning to heal unseen negative influences is really important, because there's unseen negative influences. There's discarnate spirits. These archons are running around feeding off of all these energies, creating as much pain and suffering as possible. And we can learn how to heal these unseen negative influences. But at the core of everybody's being is just this loving, joyous, powerful, manifesting God or goddess. It's pure bliss. And we need to tap that core and allow the source to come through us, into everything that we do, into our everyday lives. And we can learn how to clear out, whole buildings, whole cities. We have that ability, and do it in groups, in unison, and work together. We can raise the frequencies of the entire planet and just, clean up this mess that we're in the middle of. So that's one of the things that I've been teaching for over 30 years and have been writing about, these techniques on how to do this. It's what I'm teaching this weekend, like who's who in the universe, and how, some beings you want to talk to and work with, other beings you want to tell them to hit the road, and call
Right.
them, and call the higher beings in to make sure they hit the road, So there's a lot of tools and techniques that we can muster up, and bring our own God selves into every situation, and master what we were talking about earlier, that loving detachment where, you do not have any right to trespass on the free will of another, and they have a right to their free will and their choice and self-determination. But you have a right to set boundaries and say, hey, I don't want to go there. Let's step it up a notch. Let's focus on equality here, and start being loving and kind to each other, and move in that direction. And we're going to have to make some hard choices in the future, with these energies, and kind of hold people accountable when they're in their process, and say, look, this doesn't apply here. So this is an old process. This is an old wound or trauma coming up. So, if you want somebody to talk to about this, if you want to heal this, I'm there. for you. But if you want to project and blame, then you need to find another, whipping post or whatever. And that's what's going on a huge scale. But I'm just seeing a lot of self-authority is in order here, a lot of self-empowerment teachings, and knowing that you have a right to live a thoroughly loving, joyous, abundant life and become sovereign, and start manifesting your own destiny. And these things will fall away.
I love that. And, another thing I must say about you, James, and I'm sure that there are many people who come to ECETI Ranch or who take classes with you, from you, etc., will completely understand what I'm about to say. Your being, James, you've done the work. You've done the inside journey. You've been a person who has been of service, deeply in love with humans and animals and all life forms. And you've had some amazing experiences, James, that a lot of people have yet to have. And once you loved yourself best, once you have value for yourself, that is how you have actually been able to teach others, because that's how you're setting the bar high and you're teaching by example.
Yeah, I'm doing the best I can. I first want to say I'm not infallible, and I'm not anybody's guru, because your real guru is within. And so I just try to share, my experiences. And
exactly. That's what makes a good teacher.
Yeah. And, it's like, if I make a mistake, I own it. I could have done that better. And I'm first to apologize, if I have, offended somebody, and I've been known for having a wicked sense of humor and even using that humor to teach people and get people to look at certain things, sometimes things just come through me that pop up and they're perfect at the time, but it might have really brought the issues up for people, and it just happens, it's like the universe working through me sometimes to make
shite happens.
Yeah, the growth continues, so
sure.
So it's kind of interesting. All I know is when I go within, when I look in the mirror in the morning, or at night, I feel really good about myself, and I try to keep pure intent, an open mind, and a loving heart. And my truth is flexible. If there's a greater truth and there's more information coming in, I don't, truth doesn't need defending. And I try to live by that and listen, genuinely love and listen to people's story, and sometimes you have to ask people, well, who would you be without that story? What's is it time to let go of that story? Does
right.
that, serve you anymore? And maybe it's time to create a new story, a new program out there, and hit the old delete button on the old one.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, speaking of letting go, you had a couple of relationships this year that you had to let go of. And when James and I were on the break, I asked him if he was willing to share a little bit about that with us. And he said, sure. So why don't you let us in on why you had to stand back and do that love and detachment with these two relationships that you had this year?
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm trying to think of how I can do this in the most kindest, gentle way as possible. But
come on.
Yeah. Well, it's like in all relationships, there's a lot of things that come up, and some people are just not ready to look at that or face that. And I have this big savior program. I really never give up on anybody, and I just hang in there much longer than I probably should. But I know, I know how people get into the positions that they are, and the trauma that they've gone through in the past, and why it's hard to trust again or open your heart or hold that space, and how you can just shift, because of the other influences that are at play. I know how they can step in, and the only reason I want to bring this up, and I don't want to bend this towards anybody, not even my relationships. Let's just put those aside. But there's an event going on where, there's a war going on, and the war is with the Archon network, that just wants to create as much separation and pain and suffering as possible. And, a lot of warring and aggression and whatever. And there's another group out there that wants to really focus on love and joy and bliss and unity and service. And there's a war going on between those two factions. And some people are winning the war and some people are losing it and aren't doing too well. And so, all you can do is support them as much as you can, in their process. And hopefully they can break free from that, but there comes a time when you just have to say, you know what, I can't make choices. I can't make choices for these people. And it's really time for everybody to stand up on their own 2 feet, set their own boundaries and really look at their past and see if, they may be blaming and projecting or see where this has happened to them in the past and where some of this dysfunction is coming from and go forward, from there. And it's a really rough road. It's a very hard road. Very few people can do it. And when you've been really wounded as a child or something, or you've had a very hard past and you've had a lot of things happen to you, that's all coming up. And it's rough. And I have nothing but compassion for people that are trying to work through this process and let it go. And I know some things are just so painful. I mean, they were so painful and just so traumatic. And so that people got locked into a certain age or they got shut down, and they just can't open their heart. They can't trust anymore, because of the things that happen. And I know how hard it is to face those events and own it and deal with it. It's like some people would rather face a firing squad, than deal with their emotions or some of the traumas of the past, especially men, but, women can hug each other and have a big cry and go on to the next level, but, it's a lot, sometimes it's hard for men to get into the heart, and get into their past and own it, some of the things that have happened to them and bring that light of forgiveness into that situation. So, my experience is that I've just seen, I'm having ultimate tests in forgiveness, ultimate tests in loving detachment, the ultimate test in sometimes loving from a distance, which is all you can do, and let people make their choices and experience, the consequences of those choices, and still love them no matter what choices they make.
Do you ever second guess yourself?
Yeah, I should all over myself sometimes, but I catch myself at it. I should have done. I go, you know what? And I just go, okay, I'm stopping that. It's like this went where it was supposed to go. I need to gain the wisdom from this experience. I need to get back into my center and just hold that loving, joyous, supportive space again, and be there if they want to work, clear and heal things out. But I know in some cases, we do just have to set boundaries. In some areas, we just have to set a really firm boundary and just say, I'm not going to deal with these kind of energies. I'm not going to deal with these energies that are trying to come through. I'm not going to, go in that direction. And I'm choosing a whole different frequency, a different way, you might say.
Mm. What is, tell us about this ambassador training that you have coming up, and how often do you do it? And, how much does it cost? And let's talk about what it is to begin with. What is ambassador training?
Well, there's other people that offer the similar training, the same training. Some people charge like $800 to $1,200 for this, and we keep it down to to $125, or we were doing it for like $99, I think, dollars. And I'm trying to keep things very affordable. And very, because it's all about education and enlightenment and healing. That's our whole focus. But I really don't care about being rich. I already did that program. It's like I did the success story and found out how empty it was. So I've already done that, and I'm just more in service mode right now. And as long as we can keep the doors open and keep things, on the ranch together, there's a lot of maintenance here and just upkeep and utilities and everything else. So we have to charge something, but, I like living a simple life. I'm fine with that. But but anyway, it's a very, very affordable, the things that we cover here. I don't know anybody else that's doing it. but we're really going into interdimensional mind. We're going to who's who in the universe. We're going up to the eighth dimension, bringing these beings in so people can experience them. People make contact with their own major, teachers and guides, and their own families. Their Star Nation families come in, and they get to feel them and experience them. And they actually get to see the ships, and the ships come in and put on a show, which brings it right down to earth, which makes people totally reevaluate everything, when that happens. So it's, and we also have a lot of tools and techniques to keep your energies clear and teach people how to heal unseen negative influences. And that alone, is invaluable. Learning how to heal, and keep your energies clear and move this energy out of your space is invaluable alone. But that's something that needs to be done on a worldwide scale.
Mm-hmm. Totally. How long is the class? I think they're 3 days. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Friday, ambassador training. Why do you call it ambassador?
Well, it's kind of like, in a way, it's like we're ambassadors to the galactic family, the greater family of man that's coming in right now to make contact. We're like the Earth crew, you might say, or the ground crew. And so the people, when they go through this training, they understand like who's who, they understand their connections, and they can help usher that energy in to assist in the awakening healing process.
What is the experience, because you've been doing this for so long, people come out to ECETI Ranch. What happens to people when they come there for the first time? And I know what happened to me. It was. I didn't even really talk to you, which is really funny. Oh, yeah. I mean, I think I said hi a couple times, but I mean, I was all about what was going on in the sky and the mountain range around us. So it was like really got into my own world. But for the most part, when people come out to ECETI Ranch, whether they're there to take a class or spend a few days or just a day, made an appointment to come out for the day or whatever, what is their what is their experience? Is that does something solidify when they come there that changes their life forever?
Everybody's different, and everybody has different degrees of receptivity, you might say. But most people have a life-changing experience, and just the frequencies here, the energies of the land, it's a vortex, really accelerate the awakening healing process. So everybody's different. Some people really connect into the nature spirits, in that kingdom. Some people connect into the ascended master kingdom or angelic kingdom. Some people are very aligned with the ultra-dimensionals. And so whatever your soul connection is going to be accelerated and amplified. And there's a lot of healing and clearing that goes on, and a lot of vibrational lifting. So, people come out of here and completely changed, and they usually have a life-changing experience, just by coming here.
I'm sure of it. I just wanted your observation, because you're the one that sees all these people coming in and out of ECETI Ranch, and I just wanted to sort of give people a heads up that generally I think, a lot of people contact me about contacting you so that they can go to the ranch. And I tell them that if it's calling to you, if ECETI Ranch is calling to them, then they need to go. Don't even think about it, just go.
Yeah, it's that simple.
That's what I did. I mean, I didn't plan on coming. It was Sean Martin that I was hanging out with in Ocean Shores, and it was a last-minute thing. He was like, hey, I got James Gilliland on the line. Let's go to ECETI Ranch. Come on, let's go. And it was like, where's ECETI Ranch? And from Ocean Shores, I think that was at least a 2-hour drive. 2 or 3 hour drive, I think, because that's, Washington. And I remember we just sort of went, oh, okay. We didn't know why or why, what is ECETI Ranch? What does that even mean? And the next thing you know, we're sitting on your ranch watching UFOs going, oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. And I would have never, couldn't even imagine changing a thing. So those of you out there listening tonight, if you are, you have that want and need to go there to ECETI Ranch. What I'm trying to let people know, James, is it's so easy to just go. and experience it.
Yeah, just do it. There's a lot of people that that those are the type of people we like, the ones that have that inner guidance. They're saying it's really pushing them and saying, do it, and they go, I don't know why I'm here. And I go, oh, great, let's find out,
Right.
And we usually do. And then after they go, I'm so glad I listened, to that inner guidance. So, it is important to follow that inner guidance. And, every once in a while I get people that come up here and they just want to see a ship flying around and they don't care about anything else. And, we call them looky-loos, we get that every once in a while. And some of them are blown wide open when they do see the ships, or they get pulsed, by the ships and feel the energy. It really opens the door for them to go further. But, I think the ships are just here like dazzle duty. They're just here to give people a reason to heal and open up and experience their greater family out there in the multiverse.
Most likely. I mean, yeah. How long have you been out there, James?
26 years.
Has it really been 26 years? My goodness.
Yeah.
And you probably can't imagine living anywhere else.
Lately I have.
Have you really? Oh, do tell. Where would you go if you were going to go somewhere else?
Well, I've got a couple places I was looking at, like I spent a lot of time in Mexico, and I really enjoy the warm weather, and I go down there and I teach the kids and do a lot of work for the Weechels down there and do conference or talks, and then raise money for them so they can eat the rest of the year and things like that. And I really love doing that. It's something I really enjoy doing, and I don't know. It's and just to be honest with you, if America doesn't get its act together, I'm all for
Oh, right.
choosing another country and somewhere way out in the jungle somewhere where nobody knows where I am.
Well, it must be pretty bad here when somebody wants to move to the jungles of Mexico. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's heavy stuff. How often do you go? Once a year? Do you go once a year to go and raise money for the kids?
Yeah. I go down once a year, and it's kind of weird because my dad, I think, ingrained that into me, because when we were kids, he was with like the Rotary Club and things like that, and we used to do this Feliz Navidad thing, and we would go bring all this food and toys to the kids every year, and I really enjoyed that, and so it's kind of like, I'm sure he's on the other side right now, and I'm sure he's still inspiring that.
Oh, yeah, it has influence over that, sure, no doubt. Or maybe he wants to keep it going, so he sends you.
His last words were, beam me up.
Beam me up. Oh, my God.
When he died, he said, beam me up. And I went out and took a picture, and there's a beautiful turquoise light ship right over the house. So that might give you a clue, is not everybody goes and gets the harp and the wings.
Right on. So, understood.
Yeah.
So, as well, I wanted to touch base with Christ consciousness. Do you know, can you talk a little bit about Christ consciousness at all?
Yeah, if you know anybody that has it, I'd like to meet them. But that's pretty tall order there. But I go in and out of it.
Do you really?
Yeah, I'll go into 5th, 6th, and 7th, even 8th dimensional consciousness and hook up with these beings. But maintaining that is another story, and my body is really taking a hit trying to catch up to these frequencies and these energies. So it's a lot of work, and it does take a toll on you the more you work with these extremely high energies. So that's one of the reasons why I need to go to Mexico, just to recharge. And I have a paddle board, and I'll probably be out there paddling out in the ocean, and hopefully not become shark food. But cancel that thought.
Yeah, cancel that right now.
Yeah.
See, you just broadcasted that to 250,000 people. Take it back. Literally. So,
I can undo that many people.
Yay. Well, you'll know what to do. I mean, the road will take you where you need to go, and as far as all of it unfolds, and it always has unfolded for you. I don't know. The area that you're at in Trout Lake is, that's a unique area, and to get to it's a pretty unique way to get to where you are. And it is very quiet out there. It's not typical. right? It's really quiet.
Yeah,
So
piece of heaven out here that
it is. It is, and it's not
we're
everybody's lifestyle. But the fact that you're like literally, I'm telling you, people, you go out there, you will have sightings the minute you park your car. It's just
yeah,
the way it is.
it's crazy.
It
Yeah,
is.
it's an interesting lifestyle, and it's a very simple lifestyle, and we try to live in harmony with each other and the earth, and undergoing this process. It's a tricky one, because somebody's always in process. Somebody's going.
Welcome back to the show. We're having a great conversation with James Gilliland. James, I'm over at your website for a little bit. I just wanted to fill people in, and you might want to follow along at ECETI.org. That's ECETI.org if you want to check it out. Or he's all linked up as well at thetruthTonight.com, right on the front page. What is the investigational videos with Paranormal State, Danny Dyer, and Fox News? What is that all about?
Oh, that's interesting. They came out here. Paranormal State came out here and did an investigation and just saw all kinds of ships and things happening. And they brought Chip Coffey out, I guess, which is their psychic. And we came up with the exact same information, and he came in blind, didn't know anything. We told him exactly where the ships would appear. So they had the cameras rolling, and we told them what time. And the ships did. They came in and powered up and flew, treetop level and around the mountain. And they filmed it. So that was one event. I mean, a lot of other things happened during their investigation. It was quite an interesting experience. But, it shows that, we are having communication, that contact has already happened. It's been going on for 26 years here, and me all my life. And I just wonder, at what point are we going to stop living in the past, and looking back at these other events, or saying sometime in the future we're going to have contact, when it's ongoing. It's been happening here redundantly, for 26 years and well documented as well. But Danny Dyer also came out, and he went all over the world to every UFO group you could think of to try to experience a UFO. And when he came here, he said he was on UFO overload, and having a meltdown.
You're right.
Yeah. And then he experienced some of the Yigong and the other practices we do, and just had a huge awakening and opening here. And what else? I'm trying to think what else. Oh, we actually had Sean Hannity, with Fox News, sent a crew out there, and they were blown away because the ships did come in. And they brought their debunker on, but they allowed me to debunk the debunker.
How fun.
Yeah, they brought some scientists on saying, trying to say that, this is nothing more than the space shuttle or some other satellite.
Right.
Yeah.
A satellite. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We're using your data. We're using Heavens Above and J Tracker to prove these are not satellites and not known objects. And
right.
Satellites don't stop, power up, make right-hand turns, and fly around the mountain and actually morph from 1 to 3 or 4. I don't know any satellites that can do that. And actually, if they use their own science, they'd realize a lot of these things are being done in the Earth's shadow. It's not a satellite, because these objects are self-illuminated. So it'd be nice if they use their own science, and come out here and do their own investigations, which a lot of people have.
How long ago was that when Sean Hannity was out there?
Oh God, that was a couple years ago at least.
He's pretty big. He's pretty big, very well-known man. Yeah.
You can't go much more conservative than that,
No, and he is exactly right. That's interesting. Do you have any videos on that when he visited?
Yeah, they're all on the website.
Okay. Well, on the ECETI. Okay. So you can check that out too if you guys, for those of you who are interested. I noticed you have the official full-length movie of Thrive. I've been hearing lots about that in the last year and a half. Are you in Thrive, or is that just something that you helped with, or why is this on your website?
Well, I did a cameo appearance in there, and what's sad is I went down, I did about 2 days of interview and with Foster, and was talking to him, and they said I had some of the most concise information that was really helpful to humanity, and it kind of got censored down to just a cameo appearance, and I guess they brought Greer on, and he just kind of stole the show, which is what usually happens. I don't know. Whenever I get involved with him in any project, I seem to disappear. And, you know, which
Really?
is a long story. Yeah, it's happened with PBS specials and other specials as well. So as soon as I knew that was going to happen, I go, uh-oh. But, you know, it's an ongoing thing. But, you know, people need to start really paying attention to what's happening in the field right now, especially the field of ufology and
Mm-hmm.
you know, the pundits out there and people at the top, because there's a lot of planned opposition out there and a lot of people that aren't who they say they are, and you know, they're there to make people think they have a choice. They have a messiah that's going to do everything for them, and that's the most enslaving thing you can do. It's very disempowering.
Mm-hmm.
And also too, I keep hearing this nonsense about it's all good, all the ETs are good, there's no negative ETs out there, and that is probably, that can be very dangerous, and it's very I don't want to say the word unprofessional. There's another word for it that is I don't know, I'm brain farting on the word, but
well, I don't know. I mean,
it's dangerous to have people, you know, just open to any energies that come
yes.
to them, you know, without teaching them who's who and how to heal unseen negative. You know, irresponsible is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
You know, because you're setting people up, you know, to into things that they probably shouldn't be hooked into.
Correct. And then there's the other aspect of, you know, if you're misguiding as well. People can be misguided as well. So
yeah, you have a responsibility if you're going to be teaching people and they're going to look up to you. You have a responsibility on giving them the whole enchilada and doing the best you can, you know, and empowering them, you know, giving them tools, you know, to make.
Well, we all show up where we, the good news is that, like, for instance, if, let's say someone showed up at a conference and they really, really wanted to hear, let's say, Greer or something, but then they ended up talking to you for 2 hours. You got to where you needed to go to get the stuff that you needed out of it, and then you end up leaving, which is why you're so full of grace when you talk about, you know, oh gosh, I ended up just getting a cameo and somebody took over my time in Thrive, because you get it too. And even though I, as a friend of yours, and of course, you know, respect you, I'm also not thrilled to hear that either. You know, I would have rather seen more than a cameo in Thrive, but it is there, and it has its purpose as well.
Exactly.
And like you said, Foster, you know, had been invited you to that and so forth. By the way, there are some people posting on my Facebook wall. They're posting photos of when they were at the ranch.
Nice.
And one of the gals' name is Dolores Medina. Do you know who that is at all?
Yeah.
She's posting photos, and she said that they call it ECETI confetti because they're surrounded by orbs.
Yeah.
And if anyone wants to go to the Facebook page and take a look at it, it's so true. And James has all of this on his website as well. And we have somebody who just tuned in from Canada, my goodness, that I haven't spoken to probably in a year and a half, 2 years, and they heard you were on, so they tuned in too. So you're really, you do happen to put out this sort of call, and certain people that need to be here, they just end up showing up. I get the most wonderful emails from people when you're on the show.
Great.
James.
Yeah, people come here from all over the world.
Yes.
And that's what I love. You know, I've had some beautiful people come out here, and a lot of Canadians. We love Canadians. I don't know what it is, but they're always really helpful.
Well, that's what you've got. You've got a Canadian right now asking. He wants to know, did any of this stuff, these occurrences, happened at Mount Shasta? He's asking.
Oh yeah. They, you know, I'd love to say that we have an exclusive on God and ET and
Darn it, you don't?
like other people are saying out there, but we don't. I mean, it's happening all over the planet right now. Sedona, I'm going to be actually speaking at the Ascension Rising conference there in Sedona on the 1st and 2nd. And Sedona has a lot of activity, you know, that people want to Google that, they can. And then I'll be speaking in Palm Springs, which also has a lot of activity right after that, and at the Star Knowledge Conference. And so those are going to be some major events. But Shasta, there's a lot of places. Norway is having some major activity, and Mexico has more activity than anywhere. I mean, they have fleets with thousands of ships flying over Mexico and a lot of footage of it.
Mexico's always been like that, hasn't it?
Well, they're going back. They built the ancient temples. And, I think last time, did we play that song? I don't know if we played that song, but I had to download a song come to me, and I just downloaded. I've never written a song before. And it's on CD Baby at, I think, cdbaby.com. AU.
What's CD Baby?
I guess it's a place where you can go and download CDs, but I would really suggest people listening to this song because it talks about the Anunnaki return and the ones who built the ancient temples and how they're coming back to right or wrong and take care of some of the things that have happened in the past, along with the other star nations. And it's a beautiful song, and people hear that song, their hearts open and they start crying. And it's a very powerful song. And I had a beautiful couple here.
Is it on your website?
No, it's not. I need to put it up there. Our website
you should put it up there so we can
I'll have it on Facebook, and I'll have it on
okay.
I'm going to put that up there, but they just
what else I'm going to need from you so I can give it to my audience? To everybody, is the Ascension Rising in Sedona and the other one that you're going to be at Palm Springs. So if you can have Nate maybe send that to me this evening.
Okay.
I need those links so I can get that out to the public for you. Okay.
I'll send that. I know if you just Google it, all the information will come up on both of them.
Well, what's the one in Palm Springs called?
It's called Star Knowledge.
Oh, okay, Star Knowledge.
Conference, Star Knowledge Palm Springs, and it's with Golden Light Eagle. And he comes to the ranch. I got some great photos of him here, and I standing out in the field talking, where I have this giant golden orb coming out of my chest, and he's got all these red and green lights above his head, and a big wolf appearing in the plasma field behind us. And it's just some crazy photographs of us hanging out together here at ECETI. I've got to see if I can dig those up and bring them.
Oh, it'd be so much fun if you could send me a few pictures. I'll also put them on my website for people to look at. Because
I'll do that.
Yeah, could you do that? I appreciate it.
Get to that right away because right after this I have to go talk to like 60 people, and then this whole weekend I'm booked, so it'll probably be Monday.
Yeah, you have right after the show. You're going to be doing a speech or something for a couple hours, right?
Yeah, we have a gathering.
How many people are out there?
At least 60, I think.
Yeah. And what are you guys going to be talking about?
Oh, interdimensional mind and all the different beings and kind of what's going to happen over the weekend here and what to look forward to.
Oh, nice. Is they going to stay the whole weekend?
Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. And so wonderful. And okay, let's go. And then also I wanted to turn people on in case they didn't know. You've also got DVDs as well on your website, and I guess you put together quite a few of them now. So that's another thing at ECETI.org. I'll pass that on to everybody. And just while I'm on the website right now, if we could just drop into this subject for a second. What is the crystal skull stuff all about, like briefly, and what's the crystal skull message?
There's different skulls. Some of the skulls were actually created by a German, some of those out there are actually just manufactured. They're not that old. And some of them are very ancient skulls. And actually, I had one that was an amethyst skull that came from Bimini. And I was playing with it while I was here. And the owner, got a message that I was supposed to be the next keeper of the skull or whatever. So I heard all these problems they were having with it. So I just said, well, I tell you what, I said, let me see what I can do with it and bring it up, So they brought it up, and I was told to bury it for 3 days. And so I did. And we had earthquakes for 3 days here.
Is this the skull that you're holding in this picture, this amethyst skull?
Yeah.
Is that old?
Yeah, it's one of the really ancient ones. And then we put it up I put it underneath the waterfall to cleanse it. We were taking it through a cleansing. and we had just monsoon rain, for 3 days. And I took it out and the rain stopped. And then I put it up in the air, the air element up on top of this pyramid we have. And we had winds actually inside the house, whirlwinds. It was crazy everywhere. And the last thing I did was I set it looking into a fire while we had this really nice campfire. We were playing music and things for the fire end of it. And this cloud appeared over the ranch, and all of a sudden every color you can imagine was coming out of this cloud, like flashes.
Wow.
It was pretty amazing. But I found out through this skull that it was very tied into the Pleiades, and you could actually use it. Very few people could actually work with it. But if you're of the right consciousness, you can actually use that skull to alter, natural forces, you might say. But the owner took it back. I mean, she had an identity, that she couldn't let go of, and ended up taking it back. And so I just let it go. I go, I have my own crystal skull, on top of my shoulders here. I don't need
Right. Oh my goodness. But that's exciting to work with something like that, especially there was so much, I don't know, about a decade ago, I guess, maybe a little more, maybe like 95-ish, somewhere there. There was all kinds of stuff about the crystal skulls and documentaries, and anthropologists were digging them up and, this, that, and the other thing. And it is interesting just to see. And my goodness, this one was a pretty big skull.
Yeah.
And these are ancient skulls that somebody carved, right?
Yeah. And again, it takes a certain level of consciousness to actually activate these skulls and work with them and be around them. And there's some people that, all their stuff gets activated when they're around them and comes up, and they just freak out. And I've known some people that just lock them away in vaults and things because they don't want to be near them anymore, and they should be, let out for the world, basically. But
now, tell me, what about your show? You've got your own radio show.
Yes.
And I love your show, by the way.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. I like it. It's just informational, and you're very open. And poor thing, you're like me. You have it worse than I do, though. You get your phone lines go down, the whole thing goes down.
Yeah.
One time you and I must have been too much on your side, because I don't think we were talking about 10 minutes when every phone line went down, hung up on me, hung up on you. And what else your network went down like for the rest of the show, I think, didn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was kind of interesting, but same thing. Our newsletter, I wanted to give people a shout out on the newsletter.
Okay.
If you go to the newsletter, give us a couple days to get it up there, but we're going to have a whole new newsletter that if you want to sign up for, they'll let people know about all the events going on here and world events and things like that.
Good.
And we, we were going through, can't mention any names, but these yahoos over there at a certain group, they I don't know what they did, but our whole newsletter just went to hell, and it was so messed up and screwed up that we had
your emails and everything. I mean, you guys just like something terrible happened.
Yeah, and so we had to completely change, and we lost probably 1,200 people off of our list in the process. So, I want to give people a shout out. Give us a day or two and sign up for the new newsletter on the website at ECETI.org.
Where do we sign up? Where do we sign up for the newsletter? On the front page, or?
Yeah, right on the front page. It'll say the newsletter. But give us a day or two to get the new link there, because the old link, it goes back to Yahoo, and we don't want to do that. The other
right. So let's not even do that. Maybe we shouldn't have said anything.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping people are...
I'll let everybody know, because this will be an archive show. So he's saying wait a couple days. Today is October 11th, 2013.
Exactly.
So wait a few days to sign up for the newsletter. Okay.
Give us a couple days to get the newsletter up, and then we'll go from there.
All right. And then do people have to resubscribe, or how's that going to go?
No, we're transferring over to another group. really good group. I think it's Mad Mimi or something like that. And so
Because you didn't like those yahoos at the other group.
Exactly. So we're moving everything over there, and we've got everything moved over there, and we did a test email to try it out, but I don't think we put the new link up yet on the website. I haven't checked on it, but give us. That'll probably be done tonight or tomorrow.
Okay.
And then
if people want to come out and visit the ranch, they do need to make a reservation or be invited.
Yeah.
One or the other. So may I give out the phone number in which they were to call, or do you want me to just give out the reservation?
Yeah, phone number, and then ECETI reservations at gmail.com. Both of those.
All right. And I'll get that out to the public as well. If you want to go and visit, go ahead and call 509-395-2092. You can also find that information on the ECETI website under request a private invitation to visit. And if you're good, James might let you come out there, right, James?
Exactly. Yeah.
So you better be nice to him. Nice to you, right? Okay, and then let's see. And then I want to go back to your radio show real quick, though. It says here that you're on Tuesdays at 2 and 9 p.m. You're on at 2 different times in one day?
Yeah, I do believe. Yeah, that's the World Puja Network. And then on BBS Radio, I'm on every Saturday night live from 8 to 9.
Okay.
And so that one's a live show, but both shows are archived, so if people want to check it out.
Where do they find your archives? On your YouTube channel?
No, the archives are at either BBS Radio.
Oh, okay. At either place.
Yeah.
Or World Puja. Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, either one.
Well, it's very, the website's very user friendly, by the way, everybody. If you go to the ECETI.org, if you're not there yet, very user friendly. I'm very impressed, James.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah,
there's some beautiful pictures up there of some of the masters appearing here that were taken by, Japanese monks and things like that got some amazing photographs of actually, Mother Mary appearing here, Kuan Yin. Some 6-dimensional lion beings appeared. Some crazy photographs of some amazing energies, and they're not vague photographs. They're pretty clear. When you look at them, it's very clear that these are higher dimensional beings. Dropping down and letting us, experience their energies, and there's a lot of healing and a lot of amazing things happen here.
Mm-hmm. I like this, the ECETI self-mastery healing arts, inner sensitivity training. Do you do a lot of those types of classes, James?
Yeah, and that's incorporated into the ambassador training as well.
Oh, great. So you've got this, how often are you doing the ambassador training?
This is the last one for the season.
Okay. What's the season? Like for fall or?
Yeah, for fall.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah, and then I'm on the road after that, basically.
Okay.
So I'll be on the road, and then.
I see what you're saying. Okay. So if anybody wants that sort of information, and we're going to be winding up in just under a couple of minutes. So and thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're super, super busy, James, and you're going to have to jump right after we get off the air here. I know that. And I was just going to ask you, if in your opinion, where you're at in your own personal experience as a human being at this point in evolution, process, whatever you want to call it, what would you say today is one of the most important things that we as humans could convey to one another?
I think right now is the main thing is to master that loving detachment, and be a part of the awakening healing process and get into service to others and unity consciousness, because that's where everything is going. And resistance is futile. The energies coming in are not stoppable. So, the change is here. It's in the wind. It's exponentially increasing. And kudos to all the people that are standing up for, the divine rights, that were creator given, even beyond the Constitution. So, I love those truckers, and I love the the vets and all the people out there saying, okay, enough's enough. We're getting back. We're going to restore the republic. We're going to get back to our divine rights and put an end to all these wars and all the greed and separation game.
I really appreciate that, James, and I love what you said. So people listen to what James said earlier when I asked James, what do we do when people tell us this can't be done? What do we do when people say that we will never be able to unify? What does that mean? And James had answered, all it means is that person is saying to you that they don't want to change. So don't let it influence you and don't let it, derail you. If somebody happens to say, yeah, I don't see that happening, simply is they really mean it. They are not there yet. James, it was wonderful having you on again, and have a great speech this evening to tech class this week. Hundreds of thousands of federal workers back on the job and extend the government's borrowing authority past the October 17 limit. And you all know on October 17th, if they do not have a deal made by then, it allegedly means that the United States government will default on its loans. That's a story for another day, because I'll tell you something. That's not true. All they have to do is pay the interest. They've got the money to pay the interest. But that's a story for another day. I won't get into that. But people are waking up. I have a friend who was a proud leftist Democrat. And what's really cool is we had a conversation early this morning, and she gets it now that the left and the right, meaning Republicans and Democrats, are one party. It's a one-party system. It's a one-party show. And I nearly fell off my chair because she gets it. And unfortunately, she voted for Barack Obama. She believed in Barack Obama, but she says it's taught her a lesson that throughout her life, she really believed these campaigners when they were out on the campaign road. And now she realizes that somebody like Obama, who could look at the people with such heartfelt, almost genuine love for our United States of America and our citizens, how someone could repeatedly look into a camera with those eyes and be lying. And this, it's a sad day when someone realizes this. But I'm grateful because my friend is in her 60s. She's a smart woman, an educated woman, a spiritual woman, very, very well-read woman. And so I have to do, if you're new to the program and you'd like to join a chat room so that you can ask James some questions later on in the show, go to freedomslips.com. And when you click there, hit Studio A. That's where I am. I'm in Studio A. We have the better coffee of Studio A and Studio B. And you want to hit the chat room. You'll see a icon that says chat. Click that, log in, and then you can sort of hang out in the chat room, and you can drink coffee there too. All right, and hello, chat room. Good evening, James. Let's just jump right into just what you and I just started to talk about actually before you even came on the air. You were talking about an energy shift, and I'd love to go right there because many people are talking about this, emailing us, posting on our walls, posting on conversations over and over and over again, that they are even saying to us, to the Truth Denied and our staff, that it is, some people are really having a tough time. Mm-hmm. What is with these energies? And tell us about the energies that went down this week, if the best you can.
Well, it seems like these energies are exponential, and they keep coming through, and they get stronger and stronger. And whatever unfinished business that you have, any old wounds or traumas or unhealed issues or whatever, they're all coming to the surface, and we just can't suppress it anymore. And the things that we need to heal to get back to peace are just coming up and slapping us in the face. And And I know there's a lot of people that are very agitated that where things didn't bother you before are just like screaming elephants, in the room. And, because everything's being energized. And so it's a lot of just the whole planet is under process. And it has a lot to do with.
Welcome, everybody, to the Truth Tonight Talk Radio. I'm Roxy Lopez. I know a lot of you are really into the conversation we're going to have tonight. It's going to get deep. So I know a lot of you need to hear that. Let me bring up a couple of things before we dive in with my guest, who is James Gilliland, tonight. And I know so many of you just really enjoy when James joins us on the show and for the conversation. A lot of us get a lot out of it. If anybody knows about this, I've got a couple of brief news stories, and then we're going to jump right into it. Does anyone know about these 12 Canadian F-18 fighter jets that if you're in the Denver metro area near Centennial Airport, there's a good chance that you might have heard these jets today. And if you did, I'd like to know about it if you're in Denver there by that airport. The city of Aurora posted on its Facebook page today that the Canadian F-18 fighter jets arrived on Thursday, and then I guess they took off around noon today. But I'd like to find out more. I can't seem to find any information on this. I just think it's interesting being that, Canadian F-18 fighter jets, unless they just needed to make a landing and refuel and hang out for the night or something. I just think it's interesting. Back on the wheel of with this government. Hey, it's waking people up. Let me tell you something. Let me catch you up. As you well know, President Barack Obama and congressional Republican leaders inched toward resolving their fiscal impasse on Friday, today, but struggled to agree on the length and terms of a short-term deal to increase the U.S. debt limit and reopen the government. So, we've seen this show before. Obama met with the Senate, finally, the Senate Republicans at the White House, and spoke by phone to the House of Representatives Speaker John Boehner as negotiations intensified on how to get
unity consciousness and everything in disunity, or anything playing the separation game, or, the lower frequency attitudes and emotions like anger and jealousy and competition and just, sadness, sorrow, all those things are coming up to the surface to be healed. And it's just a process that's underway. It's coming in waves, and it seems like each time it gets a little stronger, and then we have a downtime to heal and look at what's going on, and then the next wave will come in. And we just had a wave come through last week, and now we're having a little bit of downtime, but it's picking up again. There's another wave starting up, coming in. But it's just a process. It's tied into cycles, natural cycles that happen. It's tied into the alignment with Alcyon and Sirius, as well as galactic plane. It's also tied into the work being done by the ultradimensionals that are assisting us in this process, and the inner earth as well. So it's like the earth itself and the beings that live within the interior in their places are all working in conjunction, and we're almost like being sandwiched, above and below, that we need to process these things out. And what's happened over years, over thousands of years, we've been under the influence of these Archons, the Archon network. And that is the reason why we have all the poverty and the wars and the lack and the competition and all these things that are there. It's a combination of things. One, due to the ancient Anunnaki, after they left, the fallen ones that they left behind, they had a lot of competitive programs going, and they had a lot of turf wars, and it was like the original Hatfields and McCoys going on. And so they had their turf wars, and they had their areas that were given to them by the Supreme Council. And when they left and there's nobody to keep the peace, they fell and got into their own issues, and so there was, some pretty nasty wars fought in the past, I
have to say, a year ago, this conversation would have gotten she and I in a full-fledged argument. And today, the conversation was a relief to her that there was someone else who got it, like me. So think about that when you're wondering about some of your family members or friends who just still believe in a republic. Just remember that through times like this, as weird as they are, as mad as you are at the government for being stupid with money and the corporation, the United States corporation, just remember it's times like these that nudge the American people and say something's really wrong. And this is where people do begin to unravel, jump in or shift into a new paradigm of thinking and undo the propaganda in their own mind. So, there's good things that come out of bad things is what I'm trying to say. Today we're going to cover quite a few things with my friend James Gilliland. We're going to talk about the ambassador training that he's doing out at ECETI Ranch. And let me check because a couple of people said to say hi to you. Let's see. Oh, I can't remember who it is. John Sullivan was one of them who's been out to the ranch and such.
Oh,
yeah. And James, come on, join, come in the kitchen, grab a cup of coffee.
Okay, yeah, it's great to be back.
Thanks. It's always wonderful to have you. You're one of those people that so many people know who you are. So no disrespect intended to not give a few paragraphs on who you are. People are tuning in right now to hear you, and they're well aware of you. And I will say that if there's anybody new listening, two things you may want